Hey guys! So today you and I are going to talk about reviewing your own code. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, how can a software developer work on critically reviewing their own code? Well, this is one of those situations where it can take a while for you to get to a point where you can be more honest with yourself related to your own development process and the way that you write software. The thing that I suggest, and this is one of those situations where I've talked about this before, guys, where the differences between working as like a solo developer versus working in a team makes a bit of a difference, because if you only work by yourself, this is probably going to take you a little bit longer, and if you work in a team, if you have the right people around you, it's going to go faster. Because what I usually say is that it's very often that, well, we have this saying that everybody is their own, well, you're your own worst critic, right? That's true, but you are also at the same time the most likely person to be, you're your own best teacher. And what I mean by that is that when you make something, when you write software, it if it makes sense to you, or rather I think it makes sense, that anything that you make makes sense to you because it came from you, basically. So you should, of course, comprehend what's going on. And so it's very difficult for you to figure out whether or not this is as well as you can do, or how simple you can make something, or if there are other ways of doing something, because you need something external to bring you around to a new way of thinking. This is true for most people, that, you know, we talk about people being stupid or having the wrong opinion, etc., etc. And I like to tell people that, yeah, these people, I mean, everybody's an idiot depending on who you ask. But the problem with fixing not really knowing how to do something or being an idiot is, as my old friend used to say, I'm not an idiot because I want to be an idiot. It's just that I don't know any better. And that's true for me as well. Like, if I do something stupid, it's not because, usually at the very least, because I want to be stupid. It's because it's the only thing I know. And so when you want to criticize your own code or really look at it, it's very difficult for you to look at your own work and say, hey, here is this other perspective to what I did. This is clearly a better way of looking at it, and I did a stupid thing, for example. Unless this is the painful part. This is what pain and growing up does to you. When you make mistakes, you get real feedback on your solutions from reality, and then you do better. But to save yourself a little bit of that trouble, what I suggest to people to do is to establish very early on a disconnection between you and your software, and invite early on people to have an opinion on the work that you do. In other words, when you have coworkers or you have people around you, try to establish a connection with these people. And I'm not talking about just a working connection. I'm talking about an actual relationship with your coworkers where they feel that it's the way you basically have a very natural environment where it's completely normal for you to, a few times a day, call out to one of your coworkers. It doesn't have to just be in a pull request, you know, when you get the review, and then ask them, I'm thinking of doing this thing here, and I would love to get you to rubber duck a little bit with me if my idea is good or bad. And then create that relationship where they say, yeah, sure, I can give you some thoughts, and then just demo, like a tiny micro demo, like I'm thinking, I'm going to, I don't know, build this thing here. I'm going to implement this thing here like that. And I'm thinking these things, and sort of share your thought process with them, and then listen to what they have to say. And don't just do that in the pull request, because the thing is, and this is the thing that I believe that a lot of software developers underestimate. When you get to the pull request state and you only communicate with software developers through pull requests and so forth, you actually limit the amount of useful information that you can gain. Because usually when you get to the pull request state, some developers are really shit at pull requests. They will just approve, or they will just check for very little. Like, you don't really know what the quality of the feedback is going to be on your work in a pull request. Some developers are very critical, and some developers are, as I said, sort of wishy-washy. They're not going to give you a lot of feedback, and some don't even care at all. They just hit approve. So that's a very bad forum for you to get quality feedback on the code that you are writing usually, because even if you put your heart and soul into something, if it's too long, someone's going to go, did not read, and just skim if it's like 70 files or something like that. So what you want is to take a look at those areas where you think maybe I could have done this better, and really look at it, as I said, and then get to that point where you can ask someone else and actually invite them to a conversation and show them what you're doing. Because when you have a human interaction, when two people are sitting together and they sort of feel comfortable, and you're asking somebody else's opinion, you are more likely to get more value from that feedback than if you just look at the pull request comments, on average at the very least. This is something that I do with literally every single software developer that I work with. When I run unless I'm not a team lead or something, if I'm just doing software development, I try to do the same thing, but I do it at a team level as well, where I establish very early on with new hires or developers that I work with that this is not only something that you should do, it is something that I expect you to do, because from a team perspective, it gives you two things. It gives you an assurance that the software developers are actually getting to know each other. It's basically a basic team building exercise to be able to do this, but it's also the reason why you want those team building exercises in the first place, so it's more efficient than a team building exercise, because those you usually want to put in place so that people will do this thing. So if you can get them to do this immediately, it's very good if you do this. I have different tricks or tips that I can give for how to actually facilitate this if you're leading the team or so forth, but that's a different video. But you want to establish that as quickly as possible, and I do that with practically everybody. And then, as I said, you create this space where it feels comfortable for people to have these conversations, because that's going to improve not just the way that you look at your own code, it's also going to make both of you, because it doesn't take that long to do these sessions, and it's not like it's going to happen every 5 seconds, but the sessions that you do have will help inform you and align both of the people who are involved, or the people who are involved, on what direction the code is heading. And that collaboration is the key element, together with that you have domain knowledge into you not just writing code at a better level, like the actual coding part, but to actually write the right software for the problem that you are solving. Because one of the most common reasons why people create shit systems is because the developers don't really have the same idea of how to achieve the goals that they're looking for, and they don't really know how to make sure that they understand the overall domain. And the more people you have from a team involved in these smaller discussions about code quality and what's going to happen next and so forth, the more likely you are to spread that knowledge among the whole group. So what I want you to take away from this is that being critical of your own code is usually done best in two ways. Either you fail miserably, you do the thing that you think is best, because as I said, it's very difficult to be better than you are. At any given time, anybody who tries their best is just trying their best, and if that's not actually a good way of doing it, they're going to have to learn through failure. So being alone here, it makes it a little bit tougher, but that's basically what it comes down to. Try your best to do the thing, like push yourself and do the best you can. Try to keep your code simple. Try to really, as I said, detach yourself from the code. Don't fall in love with the code. It's just a tool that you're using to achieve some goals. So look at how easy is it for me to deliver on the goal. If you spend more time involved in trying to figure out clever solutions, then you spend tons of time on bugs or issues, or you find it difficult to then work with your own solution, then you're clearly doing something wrong. Because ideally, you should. This is how I look at it these days. My code is usually very boring, but it always. Well, I'm not gonna say always, but it should always work, or it should make my life easier when I'm done with it. The part of writing it shouldn't be all that exciting usually. Sometimes you are lucky and you have a really cool problem, but for the most part it's like brushing your teeth when you get to a certain level. And then you measure how much pain and ache am I getting from this damn thing that I just wrote. That's not how it usually starts, but that's how it's going to end, I hope for you. And for those of you who have teammates, try to establish a good connection with your teammates as early as possible and invite to rubber duck sessions and early feedback before you even get to the pull request. Because a face-to-face or like over video conference, I do this all the time with software developers, so getting some rubber ducking on your code will help you not only learn more about the domain that you're working in, it's also going to help you review your code in a different way. Because those conversations are usually the way that you get one part more familiar with your coworkers, but also it's a good way for you to get honest feedback and quality feedback instead of sort of trying to figure out what people mean with one comment here or one comment there, because now you can show them a concept and share your thought process, and that's more valuable than just one piece of software that they looked at. Have a great day.